All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Defying All Odds podcast. This is your host, Jesse, and my co-host,
Ralph, you already know.
And we have a very special guest today, Steven Portillo.
Let's get it. How you guys doing?
All right, so Steven, why don't you kind of tell us a little about the viewers, a little bit about yourself, kind of your background, that sort of thing.
All right, so I grew up in the South Bronx, born and raised, and literally, like, it's actually crazy that I'm here. Like, Columbia University was always something that you always highlight growing up in New York City, so I'm glad to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you. And growing up, I mean, I grew up poor, right? Hunts Point. It's not known for anything besides, the bad. So I'm not, I don't even want to like emphasize it because I do want to highlight Hunts Point in a different type of light. All right. So
That's fair.
There you go.
But yeah, grew up poor. I was one of those kids just studying, doing different endeavors. Like I grew up building boats. There was a little program I've done that in high school. It was pretty fun. And I went through my whole life going through a Jesuit school. So I was blessed in that way through middle school all the way to my university. And yeah, I mean, I recently picked up a new endeavor after COVID. It was all about health. So you really want it to be all about health after COVID. It was just a trend, I guess, but I kept going. And yeah, I'm here now. I'm 4 years into working out. I do plan on doing a bodybuilding show soon, so stay tuned. And yeah.
All right, so obviously, so you come from the South Bronx, and then now you're obviously like a bodybuilder and like a fitness influencer. You just tell us a little bit about kind of like that transition from academia into kind of creating content, as well as like focusing on obviously mental health as well, because that's also another big topic.
Yeah, so I did go through my years in Fordham. I graduated, I got my degree, but what I do like what you said about in your last podcast is that most things just don't go the way, like it's not black and white. Sometimes you don't want to like just the end all be all. You go to a degree, you get a job, and then that's your career. Like I find pleasure in doing things that I think are worthwhile, and not to say that college isn't worthwhile, right? We're in Columbia, like I said.
Yeah.
So it's one of the prestigious schools in the world, and everything has a time and place. Everything has a place for it. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, right? All the things that are necessary for, I guess, graduate school. But like I said, after COVID, I got into this whole health thing because I didn't really know what protein, fats, and carbs were, your macros, right? Like the simple things of life. Yeah. And most people don't, honestly. Growing up in the Bronx, you see a lot of unhealthy people. You see overweight, too skinny, in between. And I just didn't want to be that for me. I wanted to like just change the narrative, change my life. You gotta lead by example, I would say. And yeah, after college, I picked up my first membership. I never knew how to work out before that. I just Googled best workout routines for males, and there it was. Like, it's literally just given to you. And if you follow the plans to like T, you end up like me, I guess.
Yeah.
Prime example.
There you go.
Big body.
Prime example.
Yeah,
But
if you get too close, he might hurt you.
stop it.
Okay, that's cool. And so you got out of college, and then you started doing the fitness stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of just, when you started looking at all the research, when you started researching how to become the man that you are today, like where did you start necessarily outside of just Googling it and stuff like?
Okay, so I drew inspiration from like other bodybuilders, like obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger. You'll find the most recent, most famous, Christopher Bumstead, also known as C-Bum. I would say like I also drew just motivation from my own personal life, seeing my family just grow up unhealthy, not knowing like I said, what protein, carbs, and fats were. It was just like I had to change my life, just to show an example for my family. And I hope I made like a positive impact for everybody that was around me, because I also noticed that people in my gym, specifically in Blink, which sadly is going bankrupt. I don't know if it will be bankrupt by
I had no idea about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, the
one in the gym?
The one in Hunts Point. So
Oh, what?
yeah, sadly. But
Wow.
I go to different gyms. I'm just sad that my home gym is whatever. Anyways, I've been there for like 2 years straight, 3 years straight, and I feel like I've impacted many lives. I also I do PT, I do private, and I used to work for a gym. But I recommend if you ever do the personal training route, do private. It's always better to be your own boss. Okay. And period. Now let me stop.
There you go.
Gotta throw that in there.
Absolutely.
But what else? Just I'll say other motivations that led me to like just fitness in general. I guess the big one was really COVID, honestly. Just everybody freaking out about like, oh, you got to get shots, you got to do this, you got to do that. But in my head, I'm just like, we've walked this earth for like millions of years. So what is wrong with running and just being in shape, eating your proteins, your macros correctly, and working out regularly? It's 2024. A lot of people, I guess, we all have the same 24 hours, but no one's too busy to be fit, right? Like that's just like counterintuitive. You would say, I'm too busy to be healthy. Like, you know, like you're never too busy to be positive or leave a positive impact on yourself and others.
True.
So
That's true.
Well, it's like also, like you said, right? When you kind of go through the day, right? And even if you're not working out, there's still other things that you can do to kind of make sure that you're not just in the right mindset, but also making sure that your body's in tune, right? Like whether, you know, that little choice when you make, where am I going to go to McDonald's today, or am I actually going to go maybe make my home cooked meal? Or maybe instead of like going to McDonald's, maybe I go to Chipotle, which may not be like the best route, but it's a healthier route, right? So there are different routes where you could take where kind of that small decision, right? That little piece that's gonna really change like that mindset, change the outcome of basically the rest of your day and also your life choices and your lifestyle. Now, obviously, going back to like learning about like proteins, carbs, and fats. Like here at Columbia, I take biochemistry right now. Like that's a class that obviously a lot of pre-meds we have to take, and we really touch on that like really early on, and you're learning about the biology aspect and the chemistry aspect of it. But beyond a biochemical standpoint, there's also the misintuition about like what that does to your body, right? And that's something that's not always taught in the classroom. That's things that you kind of learn with like lifestyle, you learn through fitness. So you just carry through like, you know, what kind of goes into that role of like, you know, all right, I got to make sure that I'm going to get this amount of protein today. How do you like go about calculating that for yourself? And also like if a viewer really wants to like follow down the route that you went down.
all right, so like being straightforward, I would say just understand that maintenance calories is 2,000. And once you figure that out, you find what's right for your body, which is technically just your BMI, body mass index. That's what it stands for. And once you figure out your height and what's your BMI, you can perfectly calculate of how much protein, carbs, and fats you technically have to hit, or if you're trying to cut, if you're trying to bulk. For instance, give me your height.
About like 6'1".
6'1". Okay, so I would say your BMI would probably be around like this is off the top of my head. Like this, no charts. I never really studied the BMI scale, but based on my measurements, I could tell based off that you're about 2 inches, 3 inches taller than me. That each inch adds about 10 pounds. You should be around 190, like 200.
Yeah,
your BMI should be around there. And I would say like to build, that would be a great way to start building muscle, okay? Not to be on a deficit.
Yeah.
And I'll say 200 just to be flat and to be easy for the viewers. You half that. So we do it in kilograms. What's half of 200? Right?
100.
100. And I do 1 gram of body weight per pound kilogram, or per kilogram, something like that. And I hope you guys are getting the metrics, but it's just half whatever your body weight is. Get that protein intake, and that's as simple as I could tell you. And then for carbs, just add like another 40 grams of carbs or whatever your protein is. That's a good amount of energy that you should expend for the day for the workout. And I'll say if you're like working in like hard labor, construction or something, you want to up it just a little bit. But besides that, it's not really that hard. If it is kind of difficult, what I'm telling you, get a personal trainer to just tell you. He'll tell you like as simple as it gets, you know?
So, I mean, obviously that's a really good point, because one of the main things I realized also, like when you're in college, and you probably could relate to this too, and you too, Rafi, like if you ever go to a dining hall, right, you don't necessarily control like the portion size sometimes, or you don't control the calories that you're putting in. So a lot of times you may be thinking like, I'm taking a lot of this chicken and I'm taking all this rice, but there might be oils and fats that are unhealthy that's in that. So it's not necessarily, so it takes away from the healthy aspect of like the rice and chicken that you would make if maybe if you were at home, for instance. You could control the amount of oil you put in the pan, but you can't really control that when you're collecting it from a dining hall, right? So what I've kind of done is like in the mornings, and it's also like a lot easier. Like I just go straight to work. I go straight to classes. Kind of, I make 4 eggs right in the morning, have my protein yogurt ready, my protein shake ready.
Guy's
it's
on
like,
it.
It's like the first thing,
I taught him well.
and that's the first thing I'm doing in the morning, right after I do my 20 push-ups. And it's like goes back to the idea of like discipline, right? Like you just do the same thing over and over again every day. Obviously, your results are not going to come overnight. Like we said, Rome's not built overnight, but in due time, in due progress, there's progress that's made, and it's like that 1% of progress that you make per day. As long as you make progress, you're in the step in the right direction.
Something happen.
So
I really love that. Like, how do you how do you track, since when you go to these dining halls, like you said, it's all you can eat kind of thing. Like you can grab as many plates as you want. And typically it's probably not the healthiest options, right? Or sometimes there are.
Sometimes, but not
like
always,
you said, it's discipline. How do you go day by day? Like, all right, I want this, I want that.
So at least here at Columbia, I'm not sure how it is at other universities, but Columbia Dining has like a website. So they'll tell you like what's for dinner, what's for lunch, what's for breakfast. And sometimes, not always, but there'll be like an option where you could click and you could see like the serving size, and you could see like the breakdown, the nutrition facts, how much fats.
Oh, they do that too?
Yeah, but not always. Like there's sometimes where like you can't really see it, and so in times where like you kind of just have to use your intuition, right? Like for instance, like you might analyze, okay, like they're serving like this kind of pork as like the main dish at this dining hall, but they're saving like this kind of steak at another dining hall, and you just kind of have to like think, okay, like which one's gonna have more grease like attached to it, which one's gonna have more oil, like things like that. That's like just intuitive rather than like you actually making the calculation. And other times where, and I think a lot of students can relate to this here on campus, is like if it's like really late at night, like one of our only dining halls that's open super late is like JJ's, which is it's like a 22 or 23 hours a day. But like most of the food that they serve there is fries. So it's like you'll have like the hamburgers, fries, and you'll have like you can make the quesadilla. So a lot of times like you might get out of class, like you might be studying late, and like, you might go for a snack, but it's not always your best option, right? And it's like even when you don't make that best option, right? Like, and you're kind of like, I don't want to say you're forced to, but like that's like the only option you have in terms of dining, or else you have to go off campus or go home, right? You kind of like have to make the best of it. So maybe getting that chicken quesadilla might be better than you getting that hamburger, right? So it's like there's like certain things you could do to kind of work around it.
And how about somebody that like grew up as a New Yorker? You probably get food from the deli. That's my normal day too.
Bacon and cheese, but in Arizona, right?
Yeah. What do you do to
average high school moment in New York City?
Literally morning breakfast, bacon, egg, and cheese.
If you went to school in New York, you had to have gotten either bacon, egg, and cheese, bacon with cream cheese and bacon, or the scary people that like to put jelly with their cream cheese. But I digress.
Bacon on a roll. There you go.
No, but I really want to know, like, how do you go day by day, like just figuring out what you're gonna eat?
I mean, me personally, I try to keep myself, I try to keep it pretty controlled in general when it comes to my daily eating habits. Sure, I fall off the rails once or twice. I'm not perfect, no one is.
No one is.
But I personally, for me, I always try to keep it steady when it comes to like the breakfast, like similar. Make sure I have at least like 2 or 3 eggs in the morning, low carbs, and that's kind of how it goes. And then throughout the day, depending on how hungry I am, because people often will try to like binge eat, and that's like one of the worst things for when it comes to like trying to lose weight. So I remember I saw this one guy. He said, eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, right?
Yeah.
So I try to keep that mindset throughout the day when I'm working and stuff. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm just chilling. It's pretty slow, and then naturally you're just like, oh, I want to bite, or I want to get a snack of some sort, right? And then that's kind of how the binging starts, right? So throughout my day, I try to keep it pretty light. And if I do end up eating like a big meal during lunchtime, I'll try to make sure I incorporate as much protein more as possible and lower on carbs. And then usually my dinners is when I have like more higher in carbs and higher in fat, I guess you could say. And that will be like the main bulk of my meal for the entire day.
Like a carb cycle diet.
Yeah. But nowadays, like to keep it blunt, like I try to keep my steak and eggs like the most, straightforward
Basic,
stuff. It's delicious. I love to cook personally.
Me too, yeah.
And funny, what you were saying earlier, when you can just discipline yourself to make your own food, and even not even just make your food, but just have a consistent regimen of what you're gonna eat throughout the week. Because let's just even say you want to eat McDonald's every single day. You theoretically could eat McDonald's every single day. So as long as you keep those calorie down, right?
Right.
So.
I mean, I'm gonna just say it, throw it in there, like Super Size Me guy. Like I'm just saying, like he kind of proved that you kind of can't. I'm just saying, let's not like throw McDonald's, give them the free promo.
No,
you know?
fair enough. But in the sense of like, if you learn to, learn the macros and learn the numbers
Technically,
of
yes.
what your body is,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And just as an example, that cookie is 200 calories per se, right?
Mhm.
And you want to eat every single day, by all means, you really could eat that same cookie every single day. But if you can fit it within your macros or the proteins and the fat and the carbs, then you can most definitely do it and still lose pounds. But people often think, oh, just because I'm eating all this chicken and all this rice, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But when you look at the portion sizes and the amount of grams in each of those meals, you end up eating way more than you need to.
Exactly.
And then you're still at a loss.
I like that you said that because I guess one little cheat code I could give you guys is I don't eat pork, and I think I recommend everybody shouldn't eat pork just simply because it's high in calories, high in fats. The normal amount that you could get in 20 grams of chicken that will have like 500 calories is gonna have 20 grams of protein, or 20 grams of protein in chicken would have like 500 to like 600 calories per se. Let's just say a scenario. And the same 20 grams of pork for protein is gonna have like 1,200, like double the amount. So it's just like, it's where you kind of lay out what calories you want to eat, like from day-to-day basis, basically. Yeah. I still have vices too, like, I eat my GMOs, I eat my pork, I eat in the sense that candy is made out of pork. Like anything gelatin is made out of pork.
Really?
Sadly.
Wow.
And I struggle with eating like Sour Patches and stuff like that. I'm a normal human, like you said. We all have vices. So
I think also is one of the main things that I've also realized is like you could still have like that sugary snack in the day as long as you kind of maintain everything else consistently.
Exactly.
Like so I already started, so like I said, I start off my day with like a high protein, like breakfast, right? Like getting around 70, 80 grams of protein just right from breakfast, right? So I'm already on track to hit what my protein goal is for the day. Literally. So then if I have, like a lot of times, my schedule won't necessarily permit me to spend that much time eating lunch. So lunch might be like literally a small sandwich, but I try to maximize like, all right, and maybe I'm gonna get a chicken or I'm gonna get steak like on that sandwich so I can at least try to hit what I need to hit. Yeah. And then dinner is like, whatever like the main course is, try to get, 3 main dishes, your rice, your chicken, maybe you got some potatoes on the side for your carbs, right? So there's a lot of things that goes into it, but I also say like, you can still have that vanilla milkshake if you really want to, as long as you hit everything else and you're not really, you're minimizing the sugar intake on other angles, right? So
do you know the influencer, Sam Sulek?
I think I've heard him, yeah.
So this guy's like notorious for eating, Krispy Kreme donuts, the whole 12 pack. With chocolate milk. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I've seen on like Instagram Reels. Like I've definitely seen something.
Yeah, like he's totally right. Like if it fits in your macros, if you got the energy, or if you spend so much calories, like just working out is hard. Like say you burn like 2,000 calories working out. I don't know who does, but like say you do. You ran a marathon and then you went on a 5-hour, like 8-hour Rich Piana arm workout. You're definitely, you deserve a 12-pack Krispy Kreme donut and a whole gallon of chocolate milk.
But like I think also kind of you bring a good point. Like a lot of times where if you do like a really high intensity workout, like for instance, I went on like a run. My PR was like 15 miles, and on that 15-mile run, I burned close to like 2,000 calories. Like basically a whole day's worth of food was just burned, like just from running that long and that strenuously. And one of the main things was obviously maintaining your hydration. That's obviously key, like electrolytes, like maintain, like, so I get like lemon water mixed up with some like electrolytes to maintain the aspect of like being hydrated. And then just getting like some nuts and like a banana for like potassium, like to really maintain my energy levels up. Cause I already know I'm like burning so many calories all at once. You kind of have to like find a way to keep pushing it. Cause at the end, you just feel like when you like crash, like the crash is like even worse. And like that peak, it hits you real hard. And when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, like you feel like so much pain. Yeah. And so that's another thing too, is like maintaining your energy high.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, just going back to like the whole like why fitness and why not, like I graduated from Fordham University. Got my degree in poli-sci, minored, but it's just like I didn't want to jump into a career and just stay behind of a desk or have a boss. I technically I wanted to figure out life. I think most students just or I shouldn't say students, because most people in general, they don't know fitness anymore. I feel like that's just a lost art in society now.
I think it's like, I think it's more how this country sets itself up
That's
with just how it's structured with the foods that they put out in commercials. I'm going back to the big boy McDonald's, right? You
Mhm.
see it everywhere, you know. And then here, even in the city, yeah, that big egg and cheese whatever's on is real nice. But damn, yo, that thing gonna blow you up eventually, you know?
For real. But
And it's like, I think we as a society have like kind of put it in the back burner. And once upon a time, back in like the 60s and 70s, it was all about fitness. You know, it was all about fitness. Every
The golden era.
our gym
that
classes
was the
as
golden
well,
era
yeah.
of fitness and trying to be fit, and that was the standard that you should be at. And then I think we definitely like fell away from that way too far in the deep end, to the point that now it's like you know, I mean, say what you feel about, you know, like body positivity and how they say, but like you said, you're never too busy to be healthy. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
no matter how, you know, even if you're not at, me personally, I'm not at the physique that I want to be at, but I'm constantly trying to go to the gym as many times as a day.
I see this guy at the gym all the time.
There you
Trust.
go.
So, you know, we making these gains sometimes. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
So I'm not perfect, but we're getting somewhere.
That's right.
And
Exactly.
at the end of the day, like we said earlier, if you make at least 1% better of something, then you're making progress. You're getting better.
That-
So
And what's the statistics? Is it like 60% America's like obese or something like that?
I just know we're like number
It's
one
a-
in the world.
So I think you bring an excellent point in the sense that if you start to study the trends, right? Obviously, in terms of portion size, right? Like you look back at some of like a few, for instance, every time like I've gone to DR, for instance, and I'll notice like even the fast food chains over there, their portion sizes are a lot smaller than like you come here.
Yeah.
Like a 16, 32 ounce drink over there is only gonna be like maybe 8, 10 ounces over there. So and you're already encouraging, right? Like
They
through the
mold you in a
market.
way. They mold
Exactly.
you.
I mean, and you've also started to see like, and it's not just like our food too. Like obviously all the other vices, right? Back then, tobacco used to really be a big thing, like back in the 60s. And now what if tobacco companies kind of switched on towards like e-cigs, right? And like now how that was marketed towards even like young teens. And like you saw it like in high school, you see it in like even in 8th graders now. And then now, for
Kinda
instance,
sad.
a company like Juul, for instance, faces like $1 billion lawsuit. And it's because of the way these marketing strategies have been tailored in a negative way towards our youth, and not just towards our youth, but towards everyone else in the world. And so I think obviously lifestyle is definitely a big thing, but it's about kind of blocking out obviously all the distractions. Obviously, you might see a lot of color in some of these like advertisements, and we've learned about how certain colors kind of like trick your brain into thinking like what might be good for you and what might not be good for you. But it's like turning the back of that wrapper and reading like what's the fine print of the nutrition facts. Is this bringing nutritional value to you? It's like doing little things like that that changes your whole mindset as to what you should be putting into your body, right?
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, Steven, going back to how you said, you know, you were born and raised in the Bronx, specifically Hunts Point, and as we know, or as people know here in the city, Hunts Point is not a very
It's not the best place, yeah.
Not the best place, not the most welcoming place,
Yes.
right? But you, from living there, you know that there are good parts in there, right?
Yeah, like
So I want to ask you particularly, like, you know, outside of just like what have you seen that is good there, but like what is it you want to tell people that, not even just in the Bronx, because you know people like to say the Bronx is super dirty and but you go to Manhattan, you go to Brooklyn, you go to Queens, they got their dirty parts too.
hey, we got the Yankees.
And we got the Yankees, and the Yankees are gonna win. But
just
I'm not gonna. We're not gonna.
Y'all are 0-2.
Listen. Let's not talk about the Yankees, please, because I'm still crying. Okay. But what I was saying though, tell me about like, what is it that you want to tell people about just your neighborhood and neighborhoods similar like that why you should invest or even just take a chance and like go out and look at what beauty is there in these places.
So like we have little gems, I would say, like in my community specifically, we have like I said, I did boat building, and now that program has flourished to do a sailing program and even like an on-water program. It's always had the on-water program. So I'm gonna just say the sailing program, which is beautiful because who do you know from the Bronx that say, oh yeah, I sail.
Yeah, that's facts. I mean, sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah, no.
I remember I saw one of his stories. He was on a boat, just right, and I was like, "Yo, bro, when you did that, like, I want to try it out." And we didn't get to do it, but it was definitely cool. And then he told me it was always on Hunts Point, and I'm like, "What? You would never think to go canoeing in Hunts Point." Yeah,
Yeah, like it's just little things like that where you're just like, whoa, like you could sail in Hunts Point, you could row in Hunts Point. Oh, you could there's run clubs in Hunts Point. Oh, there's an acting studio in Hunts Point. Like it's little stuff like that where you're just like, whoa, there's actually more to Hunts Point or any communities that are like Hunts Point in them. You know, it's just not the narrative. Oh, there's prostitutes, there's gang related, there's drugs, XYZ. You know, there's a bigger picture. You know, besides the narrative, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, and I work around the area as well, so I see a lot of things that they're changing and updating, and they're trying to clean it up and make it better. So with everything, it's just like you just got to give it time. I mean, once upon a time, Dumbo, Brooklyn used to be similar to what Huntsville used to be, like factories and just like a place for where nothing was or nobody wanted to go around there because it was just wasteland, right? And look now, everybody wants to be in Dumbo, everybody wants to move there, everything is expensive. In due time, I wouldn't be surprised if Hunts Point gets to some level.
Do you guys know the Bruckner? The Bruckner Boulevard?
The highway, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it's just like how that whole place just got gentrified. How, like you said, it was just like Dumbo. It was filled with factories, all this extra stuff. But now they're building condos, and people are just moving in. Like millionaires are moving in there. So
into the Bronx, and you never would have heard that 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I guess just to talk, since I'm here, just to talk more about like what I plan on doing, right? Just I want to do my first bodybuilding show next year in 2025. I never really expected this whole fitness thing. It was more for like, I guess it started with me just wanting a six-pack abs, and now I'm like ready to jump on with a Speedo and do some poses on stage, right? But it also like it started with mental, going back to like what Jesse said. I wasn't in the best place mentally. The whole COVID thing, people are telling you one thing, you need to get XYZ, and or else you're gonna be really sick and die. I mean, God bless everybody that passed away during that time. But I stuck to a more holistic, perspective, just the natural running, lifting weights. I don't know if I should say this, but I like being raw. I didn't, like take anything. I've also heard there's COVID pills that are coming out for COVID. I'm sorry, I don't want to get you guys like demonetized or anything,
you're
banned on YouTube.
You're fine, bro.
But yeah, I'm just being myself, being raw. I'm also like part of this brand, Raw. It's not mine, but it's the bigger picture. It's from Christopher Bumstead, the 6-time Olympia. Yeah, he's retired now.
Yeah,
sadly.
He just retired.
Sadly.
I heard about that. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But you're sponsored by Raw, right? And I assume they give you a bunch of like products and stuff.
Yeah,
free
things.
Like that. Is there any other things that you're sponsored by, or are you trying to get into?
So I do wear a lot of athlete wear stuff, like gym wear stuff. I was going for like different brands. There's different ones like Young LA, notoriously in the USA, but also like Gymshark, which is known in the UK. It's really big here in the USA as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now, just Gymshark is like the NYC thing. So I'm guessing like Gymshark. But now, trying to get back into like the whole mental thing, I would say or fitness, like fitness industry in general, going back to how they market or how industries market in like the e-cig business and stuff like that. I feel like the fitness industry kind of like fell off in a sense where it's not more of holistic practices anymore. It's more towards like steroid use, and not to highlight like Christopher Bumstead, because he's also known for like steroids and stuff like that, just because the Olympia is known for bodybuilders that take steroids. And even though I'm a natural person, I don't do any of that stuff. I know more of people that have taken steroids than those that haven't. And that's kind of weird to me, that how you say like it's marketed like to like kind of promote negativity kind of. Because it's just like, why do I aspire to be a bodybuilder when most of them take enhancements, PEDs, just to like do these bodybuilding shows? But I guess what my message is like, stay natural. You don't need any of those things. With enough discipline, enough hard work, anything is possible. It's just like academia. Like, you work hard, you're gonna get to where you want to be. And yeah, like I do, You know, I went from like being that skinny guy with no knowledge to skinny fat because I eventually went to like an obese state and then lost all that weight and got like, what is it called? Like an eating disorder, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, thinking that being too skinny wasn't skinny enough and being fat was like bad for you. But I found that balance. And once you find your balance, you kind of find like peace with yourself. And I feel like that's like the main thing about fitness. Once you find that balance within yourself, you find peace, you know.
I agree. That's a fact.
That's all.
That's a fact. I think, especially again, I think with everybody, but specifically with me, you you get to a point where like you start to go from like, oh, this is a struggle. I don't want to go. I don't want to go to the gym. This is too much work. Oh, it's too hard. Oh, I feel so fatigued. I feel so sore. You think about all the bad stuff about it, right? But that's usually just like the first 2-3 days.
Literally.
After those 2-3 days, after the fourth and fifth day, you'd be like, it's not that bad. Yeah, it hurts, but I mean, I did it a few days ago and I'm still here, right? Or then when you go from like, you know, eating whatever you want to like trying to have a specific eating routine, and you're like, oh my God, how can I eat all this stuff all the time? And then you get to a point where you're just like, oh, it's not that bad. Same thing, right? And then you find days in the week for you to eat those things that you find extra enjoyable.
Yeah.
Even though the stuff that you're doing routinely, you find just as enjoyable, right?
It's really the little things too. You know, every little, like you said, like an inch, every 1% you get better. That it's really the small wins that make up a big win. And I wish I could like highlight more of like different influencers and stuff that is like trending in fitness, but I feel like maybe you guys may not know. But like, for instance, Sam Sulek, Toji, all these people, even Alex Eubank. So if anybody sees this, I'm so sorry, but like Alex Eubank, known for being the natural guy for many years, being highlighted as the golden boy, and being against like PEDs, steroids, and all that. Now it's like it's one of those things where don't laugh at people because it might happen to you. You might be that person one day.
Yeah.
So he like started taking steroids too. So it's just like it's one of those things where I don't like where the fitness industry is leading because it's not very positive where the everyday person could be like, oh yeah, like let me just work out. I'm gonna look like my favorite fitness influencer because they take steroids.
Exactly. I think also the hardest aspect you can obviously do is just getting out of bed. I feel like a lot of times we all talk about, oh, I don't have time for the gym, or man, I'm too busy today, but that's not the main issue. I think the main issue is like waking up in the morning. It's like the first thing you want to do is hit that snooze button and not get out of bed, make your bed, go brush your teeth, make your breakfast, right? Like you delay all that. And like you said, it's like that small win. I remember I saw an Instagram video, like this one influencer, I forgot his name, but he showed a time lapse of the difference between waking up at 6 a.m. and the difference between waking up at 9 a.m. And so like he shows like all what you could do in like that 3-hour difference, and like how it changes your whole day. Like the one that woke up at 6 and went to the gym and like started his day, he's already done a lot more than what most people could do in like half a day. Meanwhile, the guy who woke up at 9 a.m. and hit the snooze button, woke up at 9, gets a nice sleep, gets out of bed, starts making his breakfast, didn't go to the gym. Now it's like 1 p.m. time for lunch and he's making lunch, and he still hasn't had time to do the other things he has to do in the day. So it's really about not just time management, but also just being present. Like know that even if you don't want to do it, like kind of like, it's kind of hard to say this, but kind of ignore your feelings almost. Like just ignore the aspect, okay, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's the discipline where it's like, all right, ignore the snooze button. I'm getting out of bed. First thing I do sometimes when I get out of bed is I just jump out of the bed and like I'm hitting the floor and I'm just doing push-ups right away, because that's like a way to wake you up. Like once I'm done with my 20 push-ups in the morning, it's like, all right, I'm awake now. Now I can really just hit the day rolling, moving. Now that any feeling that you had of like that agony, like I don't want to go and I want to do this, it's already started to dissipate. So that's kind of like ways to kind of maneuver your way around.
You know what's insane is that I never seen myself as the guy that does half marathons every week, work out 6 days a week, and it's just like you just work towards it, you know. Like I was never a runner until like 2 months ago, and now I'm running half marathons every week. And it's just the little changes, like you said.
I mean, yeah, I remember like, for instance, my first time I went on a run was last summer 23.
Yeah.
No experience running, just besides like the main cardio you get from playing basketball and baseball, like playing sports. Go on a run, I ran 4 miles, just like right off the bat. And I was like, wow, like I have the endurance for this. Next day I went back at it, ran 5.5. The next day I ran 6.5. The next day I ran 8. So it's like you just start building your way up towards it. Now, like a 10-mile run for me is like a norm almost, right? So kind of just
nice.
10 miles? That's actually insane.
Right. Yeah,
like
bro.
like that's that, like for instance, like when I obviously like when I have more time in my day, I go for my long runs, which is like a 10-12 mile run. My average run is typically around like a 3 to 5 mile run, and just like doing that, like it changes your whole perspective as to like what you're really capable of. Like I remember I was like, I thought about I'm gonna run 10 miles today, and I'm just thinking back in my head like, are you like okay? Like are you there's no way, right? And then I got to, and this was all incline as well on the way back up. So talk about, you know, achieving that.
Okay, guys, we had some technical difficulties, but we're back at it again. So, as you were saying,
Yeah, so about my run. So like I remember, you know, when I went on that first time I ran 10 miles, I ran from where I used to live on the Upper East Side, right across the street from New York Presbyterian Hospital. And I'm on 3rd Ave, and I'm running all the way down to like by Canal. And it's like, as I was running, I'm passing by people that are going out, they're going out to restaurants, they're going out to bars, and they're having a good time. It's a Friday night. And I'm like, well, I'm just like really in tune and really focused, like, all right, what am I gonna do? And this was like, mind you, without stopping, like you just like really in tune, you're really focused, and even drinking water like while you're on the run. And once I get down to Canal, I'm like, I'm about to run back up. I noticed that now I'm on incline because 3rd Ave is all incline all the way up until you get past, I think, like 45th, 46th Street. So like all that whole piece, maybe it's about like I want to say it's about 3 to 4 miles. It's just pure incline, and you've already ran like 6, 7. You're just like exhausted mentally, and it's like, how do you get over that hump? It's so easy to just give up, but you know your mind is so much more capable of what you really think it is, right? And I remember that I was when I was like doing a lot of these like going through like these motivational reels, and I stumbled upon like, you know, David Goggins is obviously such a big runner, right? And he has this idea of like the 40% rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where once you hit that 40%, it's like once you keep going, your mind just expands 1,000% because you just have so much more that you could continue to do. And that's kind of what hit me. As I was like, my feet, I remember, were like blistering in pain. Like my knees were like almost like shaky, like at the end of it. But I just kept going. I didn't stop. And that's when I realized that that's the one, the human mind is able to do so many more things. You look at our Marines, our Navymen, our servicemen, you know, thank you to all our veterans that serve. You look at how fit they are, but you also acknowledge like the extraneous training that they go through on a daily basis. And it's because they're able, you're like, oh, they must be superhuman, or they must be born with an insane amount of strength. No, a lot of times, a lot of people that go, you know, they go into the military, they learn that while they're in their training sometimes as well. They're not always like these like really big buff like bodybuilders that go in. So it's like you said, it's just consistency and discipline, and obviously just making sure that your mind can really do a lot more things that you really think it can do.
I mean, that Marine training, I hear they go like, it's more mental than, like you said, like than physical. Yeah, they like swim like cold water and stuff.
People in my family that have been in the military, and from what they've told me, yeah, it's a lot of just mental. I mean, it's a lot of physical work,
yes,
but it's more to like, I don't want to say break your mental, but it's like kind of like try to get you to a point that you didn't know that you could get to. Mm. So they kind of like really like they throw a lot at you at once to really see if, like how much you can tolerate, and if you can, then you get to a point where like nothing faces you essentially.
You gotta have that dog in you.
You gotta have that dog in you, bro.
There's a crazy one that they actually do is like they'll tie your arms right behind you, and then they'll tie your feet together, and you'll have to jump down into the water, like maybe it's like 12 feet deep, and you have to like swim and like use your mouth to like pick up like a little piece and like bring that up to the surface, like all while you're doing like dolphin kicks. And it's like really, you know, for instance, for some people that are afraid of water or afraid of drowning, that's like they have to overcome that fear. And that's where the mental aspect comes in, where it's like, okay, like you don't have any of your limbs and you're just using pure core strength, and you're using your mind as well to like block out everything. That to me, like exercises like that is where you acknowledge like where you're capable of so much more.
Yeah.
I also hear they do like waterboarding.
Yes.
Maybe like training.
Stuff like that. Yeah. It's a
Yo,
hard thing.
Shout out to everybody in the Army, for real.
Yes.
Thank you for your service.
But is there anything that you, any place they can like find you? You know, anything like that?
Oh yeah, if you want to find me, you can always look at my Instagram. It's the handle is at Steven the Wonder. I post motivational content. I try to post my own journey. It's more like for my diary, just to have like my own personal like life recorded. I hope to inspire other people to do their own fitness journey, to start it or to continue it, because starting it is okay, is fun, but to continue after a long time, after like 2-3 years, is like it kind of gets kind of boring, I would say, like anything else. But if you truly find, like I said, if you really have a passion for anything, you know, like it's really all mental, and if you have passion, is gonna just carry you along the entire way, to be honest.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that's all the time we have.
Yeah.
So as you already know, Rafa, Jesse,
Jesse signing off.
Steven, they kicking us out already. And as always, defy all the odds.
Defy all the odds.
Deuces!
Love
Bro,
that.
I hate the fact that happened again, bro. Like every freaking